There's long been concern about how women are portrayed in the Bible. And that concern is exactly why this YouTube channel exists. But even more troubling is how sexual violence is narrated. The Bible contains multiple accounts of rape, and in many of these stories, the silence surrounding the violence is deafening. Think of Dinah, whose voice is never heard, Lot offering his daughters to be raped. Tamar, raped by her half-brother Amnon. The Levite's concubine, gang raped, butchered, and used to send a political message. The women of Shiloh, abducted and forced into marriage. Even Bathsheba, stripped of consent, blamed for a king's desire. In each of these stories, we see the same haunting pattern. Women are passive in their own trauma. The harm done to them is framed not as a violation to them, but as an affront to the men who own them. Perpetrators often go unpunished. And most chilling of all, the violence serves a narrative function, propelling a man's story, legitimizing revenge, or symbolizing divine justice. These are not just ancient texts. It's a dangerous storytelling pattern that's helped lay the foundation for the rape culture we still live in today. In this episode, we're going to focus on two of the most well-known stories, Dinah and Tamar. We'll unpack what actually happens in these stories, define what we mean by rape culture, and look at how the ripple effects continue to shape our lives today, especially as women. But before we go deeper, let's unpack how Dinah and Tamar's story is actually told in the Bible. Let's start with Dinah. The daughter of Jacob and Leah went out to visit the women of the land. While she's out, Shechem, a local prince, sees her, seizes her, and rapes her. Then, in a disturbing twist, he loves her and asks his father to get her as a wife. But Dinah has no voice in this negotiation. Her brothers, enraged by the defilement, respond by murdering every man in Shechem's city. No one asked what Dinah felt or what she wanted. In fact, their primary reason for killing the men wasn't exactly to protect her honor, it was to protect their own. Now to Tamar, in 2 Samuel 13. Tamar, daughter of King David, is tricked by her half-brother Amnon. He pretends to be sick and asks for her help. When she comes to bring him dinner, he grabs her and rapes her, despite her protests. And then he hates her. Tamar suggests he marry her to fix what happened, but that doesn't happen. When her brother Absalom finds out, he immediately tells her to stay silent. The worst part of this incident is that her rape is portrayed as divine punishment by God to David for killing Uriah, Bathsheba's husband. David doesn't punish Amnon. In fact, he mourns him when he's eventually killed by Absalom. To unpack the title, Dinah, Tamar, and rape culture, we need to start with clarity. Rape is not about desire. It is non-consensual sexual intercourse, a violation rooted in power, control, and dominance. In the Bible, consent is almost never named, and when it is, it's often overridden or ignored. This absence isn't neutral. It reflects and reinforces a larger system, what we now call rape culture. Rape culture describes a society where sexual violence is normalized through media, jokes, laws, religious texts, and everyday behavior. And they demand a reckoning. Let's look at 3 ways these stories, and the way they're told, continue to harm women today. Survivors are silenced or shamed. In both stories, the women's voices are either absent or silenced. Dinah never speaks. Tamar is silenced. And today, in many religious and cultural spaces, women are still taught to be silent, especially when it comes to sexual violence. Victims are shamed, not supported. Survivors are told to forgive, forget, or keep it to themselves to avoid bringing shame to the family. Male honor is prioritized over female justice. In Dinah's story, justice is never about her. Her brothers aren't seeking accountability for the violence against her. They're defending their own honor. Shechem offers marriage, not remorse, as if marrying the girl he violated could somehow make things right. This logic is not ancient history. We still see it today. In cultures where a woman is seen as damaged by rape and forced to marry her rapist to restore family honor, where men's reputations matter more than women's bodies, where justice serves pride, not healing, Dinah's rape is framed as a dishonor to her brothers, not a trauma inflicted on her. Tamar's rape is avenged, but not for her sake, for Absalom's, for male pride. These stories are not centered on the women who suffer. They are centered on the men who feel shamed by that suffering. Impunity for perpetrators. Amnon raped Tamar and nothing happened. No accountability. No justice. David, her father, the king, the judge, the one meant to protect, chose silence. His inaction echoes through time. Today, that silence remains deafening. Too many rapists still walk free, especially when they are powerful, respected, or wrapped in the language of faith, especially when they're men after God's own heart. To reclaim Dinah and Tamar, we begin by listening to them, even when the text does not. We choose to remember them, not as passive figures in a patriarchal narrative, but as full human beings whose lives mattered. Dinah was a young girl seeking connection. She had every right to move through her world in safety. What she deserved was justice, not to be married off to her rapist or used as a symbol in a revenge narrative that had nothing to do with her well-being. Tamar was a king's daughter, yet power and status could not shield her from violation by her half-brother, nor secure any justice in the aftermath. Reclaiming Tamar means asking the hard questions. Why did she believe marriage might restore her dignity? What kind of world teaches a girl that marrying her rapist is a better fate than surviving assault? To reclaim Dinah and Tamar is to restore their agency, their humanity, and their voices. It is to reread their stories through a lens that prioritizes consent, justice, and dignity. It is to challenge the patriarchal frameworks, both scriptural and societal, that have normalized their erasure for far too long. What do you think? Have you heard these stories before? How are they taught to you, and what do you wish had been said instead? Let me know in the comments. And if this episode helped you see the Bible differently, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. Thanks for watching Reclaimed Bible Women. See you in the next one.